to start by talking about the land, the beginning of every story, really. Because if you believe that energy is left behind, then you can agree that the energy of this land was absolutely a catalyst for the things to come. Sometimes doors are opened that can never be closed, and who knows what might come through. I will be looking down at my notes. As always, I don't want to forget anything. Harrisville, Rhode Island is a village in Burrillville, Rhode Island, which was first settled around 1662 when Europeans took over Nipmuc lands. The Nipmuc were descendants of the indigenous Algonquin people of the freshwater pond place, referring to portions of Massachusetts, Connecticut, and Rhode Island. European colonists sweat before she suffocated. But flies, which are commonly found around decomposing bodies, infested the house. Even during the cold winter months. But as soon as the family acknowledged the hauntings and that they were not alone in this house, all of the flies died. Lorraine Warren later told them that the flies were only serving as a warning of the spirits in the house and of the things to come. Their work was done. Carolyn woke one morning to an old woman in a gray dress, head hanging off the side. The old woman said, "Get out. I'll drive you out with death and gloom." One day, Cindy was playing when the closet door opened, and an old woman in a gray dress with yellow flowers on it and a gray apron, with her head tilted to one side, held her arms out and said, "Come to me, little girl. Come to me, little girl." Cindy fled in fear. Andrea remembers seeing what she believes was a father, a son, and their dog that had died on the property. They were standing on the stairway. When they would leave the property, everything seemed normal, happy. Upon returning, a smell described as rotting flesh and a dark energy would surround them. At 5:15 a.m., all of their beds would levitate. Cindy told Andrea, "I keep hearing voices. It's one voice, but it's a lot of voices. They're all saying the same thing at once. There are 7 dead soldiers buried in the walls." Cindy explained that when they would hear things, they wouldn't hear it with their ears. They would hear it in their head. When they would scream or make loud noises, it was as if the sound was trapped in the room. When asked on multiple occasions, they would never recall hearing each other. There was always a moment of silence and fear when they would hear the latch of the iron on the door open, not knowing what would be on the other side. Andrea claims 8 generations of families, and some passing through, lived and died in the house or on the property prior to their arrival. Public records confirm several deliberate deaths, consisting of 2 hangings and 1 poisoning. There were also 2 drownings and just come out of surgery, heavily sedated. She shot straight up, looked them in the eye, and said, Bathsheba's curse. She does not want to be exposed, and fell back asleep. The current owners claim to hear doors banging, footsteps, phantom whispering. They claim to have seen a strange fog, and the blue lights shoot across the room. I'll close with a quote from Andrea. The house is magical. It's a portal, cleverly disguised as a farmhouse. It's multiple dimensions, interacting simultaneously. So what do you think? Would you be brave enough to spend a night alone in this house? I will tell you guys one thing. While I was researching this, the closet that you see behind me opened up. I didn't realize until I stood up to leave the room that it was wide open. If you enjoyed today's video, or videos like this, please don't be shy. Let me know, because it's going to help me decide what kind of content to make in the future. If you enjoyed my content in general, please consider subscribing by pressing the fishbowl at the bottom of my video. I will see you guys again on Tuesday.